streaming. Make sure that it works on the YouTube page. Boop-a-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. There we go. Alrighty. And we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to Kingless Chronicle. Last session, the party dealt with a smarter than your average owlbear, finding out how to handle certain creatures in a non-violent sort of situation. They managed to convince him to become a bouncer at the tavern, so the party now has essentially semi-recruited, not officially, but more unofficially recruited an NPC known as Barry, the Barry Strong Bouncer now. So that will be his full title, Barry the Barry Strong Bouncer.
I love it.
And also last session, those with spiritualness to them had an encounter with their faith. Gildos met with his goddess Brigid, and Dalon met with his lady, the Pearl Dragon. And they both were given individual quests. Dalon's was to settle a trade route dispute that is happening with Nebulum and the other countries. And for Gildos, he was given the task to liberate essentially some idols or some artifacts from an old temple of Brigid in the Savage Lands, as they will be useful for him in the future, as well as that it would be nice for them to be back in the hands of those of the devout. And lastly, Bub, as you sleep, we're going to start off with you.
Okay.
So you're sleeping in your big old bed in the tavern. Now that you're an intermediate rank adventurer, you don't have to pay for the tavern fare at the adventurers' taverns anymore.
Oh yeah.
As that is one of the better privileges of being intermediate. You don't
And
have
I
to
get
pay.
a human-sized bed.
Yes, you do. You get a human-sized bed that dwarfs you, but it's so comfortable. But yes, you have your intermediate badge. You all were paid. I already updated your XP and gold for that. So don't need to worry too much about that. I did that last session. But as you're sleeping, Bub, you're resting and you're kind of in a green field or swamp or forest. It is burgeoning with life. Kind of, as you wake up and look around, you notice that it's like you're in an almost otherworldly, beautifully natural glade. At every point at the same time, it feels like a forest, a meadow, a moor, a swamp, a grassland, and all of this at the same time. Just as if it's nature in its purest form. As a druid, you feel a very strong connection to this sort of place. This is an embodiment of almost nature itself. However, as you're resting, you begin to hear many small cries. Starts very faint. They're the cries of what seem like the animals around. Then followed slowly by trees groaning in their deep fashions. The more this happens, the more it begins to get less peaceful. It gets more uncomfortable, more unsettling. From the woods around you, Bub, you see a black mist slowly billowing out from who knows where. Everything it touches is changed into a horrible, awful, perversion of its natural form, as if it strikes up and turns black with this ichor acidic form and then corrupts into a twisted, just awful looking tree, or a twisted, uh, corrupted evil squirrel, or something similar to this. This mist is permeating from somewhere, but you don't know where.
Hmm. Am I conscious in any way?
You are very conscious. You are kind of essentially similar to lucid dreaming or having a vision.
Have I ever had one of these before?
Um, Perhaps a similar experience, but not an exact one. Nothing this potent.
Okay, I'm just
Normally
trying to
speaking,
determine if Bub would have knowledge of
yeah.
this.
You would
Okay,
know that this is like a vision. You're being essentially, the land is crying out to you as a druid. You would
I
know
see.
that much, but you may not have had an experience quite this potent before. This
You're
feels
on a vision quest.
prophetic almost.
I see. Okay. So Bub like looks around and then scurries around, trying to get as high as he can, possibly height-wise, so that he can see where this black mist that's corrupting everything is coming from.
So you find a tree and begin climbing up the tree. That's the easiest way to get high up. And it's a good thing you do so, Bub, because as you climb the tree, you see that this black mist has swarmed the ground. It is a faint, ashen, uh, acidic looking mist. And as you climb higher, the mist rises a little higher as well, but doesn't go all the way up. As you're standing in the tree at the top of this tree looking out, you notice that the mist is just billowing from what looks like the somewhere far, far off. But as you're on this tree is looks as if it's higher than any other place. Like you're on, like as tall as a mountain almost. And as you're looking down, Bub, you see that the region of Canes is being swarmed by this black mist, as it is almost corrupting, perverting, and conquering the lands around you. As it
Hmm.
swarms and swarms, it begins to rise up, and it almost looks like a maw coming to devour you. And as it snaps shut on you, you awaken in a cold sweat.
Uh-oh. So Bub's like canine teeth are, I guess, I don't know what you call the triangular kobold teeth. Serrated? But anyway, they start chattering, and he rolls back and forth and eventually falls off of his bed in a daze. What was that? And I try to detect magic.
Alright, you could cast the spell Detect Magic if you have
As a ritual in 10 minutes, so I don't use it.
it.
Is there any magic?
So as you look around, there is no magic around you.
Mm,
There's no magic in the area. You just had a bit of a vision.
yeah, so Bub's gonna stare at one of the cracks in the wall real hard as he tries to concentrate and bring up uh, from his memory what that might be.
Alright. So you're attempting to kind of like figure out perhaps what that vision might have meant.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of check that would be.
Hmm. Uh, Since you're a druid, we'll have you roll a nature check. I was gonna say religion, but that's not precisely what this was. It was more naturally, spiritually by nature. So we're gonna go roll nature. Woo!
That's a nat 20.
Wow! Starting off session strong, bub. Let's
I
go.
know.
It's all downhill from here.
Oh no!
Oh.
Don't say that.
Jokes aside, uh, a nat 20. So with the nat 20, bub, as you're thinking on it, it's almost as if like it just comes to you like immediately. Like it's common sense for you. This vision was most definitely about an oncoming threat to not only like kingdoms but this continent of Canes itself. You have no idea when this threat will arrive. You have no idea if it'll be within the next week, tomorrow, in a few years, a century from now. The time is coming is unknown. However, there is a certainty in the fact that eventually a threat is going to come to Canes, and the natures of the world were warning you, Bob, warning somebody who would listen, essentially, about this corrupting miasma, this corrupting influence that's going to assault the kingdoms of Canes.
Mm. So, Bub's first response is to leave his room and be like, I have to tell somebody about this.
Alrighty. So, Bob, as you leave your room and head off into the tavern, I'm gonna move the map over. So I imagine everyone else is up. Bub probably was the last one to wake up. And Bub, as you come out of the rooms at the back of the tavern, you see that the owl bear has been given it looks like he's got like a shield, but it's like a big old barn door, and he's got a big old what looks like a forging hammer that he's just holding in his other paw, and he's standing by the door. He looks
Delon.
very confused, but he's just standing there in the door. Other
So Bub's
notably,
Mhm.
you don't see Shiza or Filcher at the moment.
Okay. So Bub like scampers in and almost trips as he hops on one of the stools and goes, Delon, Gildas, it's terrible, horrible, no good, corrupting.
Oh, wow. That's very unbub-like. What happened?
I received a vision from nature. Something awful is going to happen that's going to corrupt the forest. It's like a big, dark fog that infects everything and distorts everything. It makes it bad.
Yeah. Just take a look at whatever I have for breakfast. Do a little bit, or a little bit for to invite the bird and say. And how do you suppose we start that? If we can even do that.
Yeah, so Bub Light just kind of gives you a vacant stare. Uh, I don't know, but we have to tell people about it. It's awful.
Well,
I tried to take the high ground, but it only delayed the inevitable. We have to find where it's coming from, and I have no idea what it was.
No, you do not. You simply know
Okay.
it was a corrupting, very evil influence.
well, if you got it now, then. Now, I don't know much about prophetic dreams or anything, but if you only got it now, then probably means you have enough time left to, well, actually find the souls, I think.
Well, I may not be a cleric, but I think what this means is that nature has chosen me to be a great hero. I have to save the realm.
Oh, best of luck to you then.
It's the best and most dangerous kind of job. And suddenly he starts shaking in excitement.
Oh, speaking of dreams, I do have one for myself too. See, my goddess went to visit me, or rather, I visited her realm, and
Wow.
indeed, well, I thought I was dead, but that's beside the point. She essentially tasked me to find an old temple of the Savage Lands and save the idols that may still be in. Now, since it's probably all overgrown and all that, Bub, I have to count on you. Should you accept? Of course.
I will.
In that case, when the time comes, I'll help you with your troubles too.
Good, good. Have to save the realm like a knight.
That. If everyone's dead because nature's out of whack, we'll try and make a profit now, can't we?
Well, I don't know about gold, but there's lots of other good stuff inside the forest that we can find. I'm very good at finding those things, but not very good at keeping them because, well, they don't make bags big enough.
But we do technically have a bag big enough. It's just not a matter of being big enough. It's just if you are big enough to carry it.
I can be big enough to carry a lot of things, but now we have bag with large hole in it. Bag of holding.
Indeed.
As the party discusses their visions, Eleanor sips some tea that she has brewed with her potion making set. Those are very interesting visions. To be blessed with visions sounds marvelous.
Well, let's say that'll be the first one, and I think there'll be many more to come. Hopefully, well, our influence, our weird divination, druidic magic, will spill over and maybe you get something too. Who knows? Don't know how that works.
All Bub knows is that there's powerful forces at work, and we've been called a big, big job. A very important job.
Eleanor nods. If you two were visited by such powerful forces, then surely it must be proof of recognition. Not everybody gets a full visitation.
Oh. Considering not after Martha clerical work, no. Although, well, I doubt there's many clerical Bridget walking around anyway, so. If any. Still, that means, yeah, we at least have something else to do. Also get the Savage Lands. And who knows, maybe our two dreams are linked, and whatever you're looking for might be in the Savage Lands as well. I look to Bub.
Going back already. Well, time to return to the place of my youth.
Then perhaps you could be an excellent guide for us and take good care of us then, Bob. It's a big
Yeah.
responsibility.
I took many classes, so now I'm better prepared.
then I'll be in your blue-scaled hands, Bob.
Thank
But
you.
before we head there, we have to head through Nebulum. Are we prepared?
I think we are.
We need to get some garlic and crosses.
So,
It's okay. Have a cleric with you. That's plenty enough.
so as by the way, Delon, are you here?
You've been muted, my man. Just
Yeah,
in
you're
case.
muted at
No,
the
I've been
moment.
here.
Okay. I was just
Yeah,
wondering
I've
if you
been
wanted
here.
to chip in. You had a vision as well.
I did. Delon's just been humming to himself, kind of off in his own world. To be completely honest,
Okay.
and
It was a
his
good
character,
vision.
it was a very good vision. So he was just kind of like,
Oh,
mm,
I'll probably notice that this is. I'll say, Alan, you've been unusually quiet. Is something wrong?
Perhaps
Oh.
he slept very well, or perhaps very poorly.
Delon, who has been like musing or nursing his drink, listening in and out of the conversation, finally snaps to attention. Bob, I believe that vision does give you a paramount opportunity to help, and of course, I would be very well to help you on your endeavor to save this place and people, as well as you, Sir Gildas. I will absolutely work with you and your goddess. And he just kind of drifts off.
You wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or
No, quite the opposite. I'm in quite the chipper mood.
oh,
I think it's possibly serendipitous, but I too received a vision.
Truly.
Indeed, I've been mulling it over. How do I say this? I was asleep one moment, and then I was in this vast white room, and then I saw a white. Woke forward and found myself in a white room with cascading light, white drapery, and a white throne. And then I was spoken to by a beautiful woman. And she told me that it revealed herself that she requested that I, to the best of my ability, deal with the blockage that has happened between Nebulum and King's Landing.
The barkeep raises an eyebrow at that. Oh, I?
Indeed. She told me that the situation must be cleared immediately. That Nebulum should not have a exclusivity to these trade deals. It is a disproportionate moment, and is just making everything worse for all sides.
Your lady has a right good head on her shoulders. Tired of getting taxed 100 gold or more for my carriages. Do I look like I have that much money laying around? Don't answer
so
that.
much. That's so much.
If I have to take out one more loan, I'm gonna be rather upset.
I mean, if the mountain road was clear too, there'd be no problem. But other than this, yeah, we
Indeed.
have to do something.
If the mountain road was open again, Nebulum wouldn't have exclusive trade routes.
I was told, I told this as well. I was given several opportunities of how to handle it, but how I did so, she declared that I do so on my own. And then, after she declared it, I woke up from my dream. Vision, or what have you.
I see.
Hmm.
Pardon if this is rude, but she sounds rather fanciful. Bit flighty, perhaps? She gives you a quest, tells you to do it, and then does not necessarily give you any aid in how to accomplish it.
It's interesting. I mentioned that somewhat, inquiring upon its nature, why she would pick me of people, and she said that that I was the closest agent to do so, and she believed in me. I told her, and I shan't fail her in that opportunity. If she believes that I can accomplish my task, then surely I must be capable of it.
Well, nevertheless, it seems we have to take an extended stay in Nebulum.
Unfortunately, it seems so.
Well, at the very least, I can give you some pointers about what to do with the locals, but probably we'll have to deal with the city folks.
Hmm.
See.
I would hope to do you see Delon's eyes narrow. I would hope to avoid the city at all costs. If we must say makes extended stay, perhaps hiring a mercenary or a contractor. That might be of a better protocol. Someone who knows the area and give us advice.
Yes, I think staying as far away from the capital city as possible is wise. I don't rightly believe that if we went in that way, we would make it out unscathed, be it financially or otherwise.
Oh,
Indeed.
thankfully, well, not so thankfully, if one were to take a good look at our card, we would think we were poor, so at least they won't ask us too much.
They should only ask a certain amount, roughly appropriate to what they assume you have on you.
Oh.
Indeed.
I know exactly what I'm giving them, so.
And if it's anything more than the finger...
Uh-huh.
Alright, for that you get a glass of mead. He actually hands you a glass of mead, Gildas.
Yeah.
I'll,
To safe travels.
I'll take it you do thrust it like a bit toward him, like, to safe travels.
Yeah. So Bob's gonna do a handed wave to the bartender and be like, "Bye, thank you for the big free bed."
Thank you for being such a hard worker. If you come across another Adventurers Guild, just show them your pin. They'll make sure you get another big free bed.
Thank you. And I'm gonna jump off and scuttle towards the. Is it an owl bear?
It is an owlbear.
Okay.
It
Bury the
stands
owlbear.
very specifically on its hind two legs. And it's holding basically a big old door as a shield and a big forge hammer as a small hammer.
That's epic. I'm not gonna lie. So he's gonna go, "Hi, Barry."
Hello. I have been given what I have been informed are armaments. I do not know how to wield them. But I have been told that they are very intimidating, so they will do fine.
You'll never really have to use them. Just sing an owlbear. Just sing an owlbear. Just hold that shit. You're like, an owlbear can be fucking use weapons? Fuck. It's like a shark that can fly.
Basically. That's a good comparison.
If you all are leaving, then have safe travels, and I think I'll still be here when you get back unless I get into more trouble.
Aw, you're not gonna go with us?
No, I am a bouncer now, or so I have heard. I have been told it is my duty to make those that the bartender deems unworthy to make them bounce.
They have to be pretty big to need something as big as you to bounce them.
I imagine the smaller they are, the easier they'll bounce. For instance, you, Bob. If I were to throw you on the ground, you would bounce most definitely a handful of times before stopping. But I don't really wish to do such a thing.
That's good. I was gonna say, as Delon would say, I would advise against that. I bite.
Ah, you bite. Well, I can bite too.
So Bob looks a little uncomfortable, and he just scurries back to where Delon and
You see, as he puts down his big old hammer and waves at you. Bye, Bob.
Gildas, Delon, Gildas. Okay.
But alrighty, as you rush over back to Delon and Gildas, Eleanor looks at you and looks at the party. Are we ready to go? If we are, we should head out soon. The earlier we leave in the morning, the more sunshine we'll have for Nebulum. Their daytime hours are quite short.
Indeed. Well,
Okay.
there's nothing else to do here. Let's go.
Out of game, do we have like a cart or something?
You do.
Or like
do.
Yes,
a donkey?
we do.
You have a cart and a donkey.
8 GP donkey? Or that's a
AGP
mule.
gone. That's a
8 GP.
mules are
mule.
badass.
They honestly are. Like the best pro strat is for everyone to get one and then buy it.
So
Who
as
needs a horse when you
the
have a mule?
as the party heads out of the tavern, Delon, your horse comes over to you, and you see that he's got what looks like a hat made of straw on his head. And you have no idea where he got it.
Let's see. Where'd you get that straw hat?
He just seems very proud of himself for having it.
Come now. Give it here.
As you go to reach for it, he prances away ever so slightly.
Delon shakes his head. But let's say.
Truly a grand relationship. Yes, before we head off, I wanted to give some of you something that I made for our travel. I feel we may be needing them. And as she says this, she holds out 2 small red vials. I only had the materials to make 2 of them. If we're in a pinch, these might be a good way to mend some injuries.
Thank thee. They'll come in handy. Delon says he's like chasing his horse with a damn hat.
Eventually you do catch up to him finally giving you the hat, and you can see that there is a farmer sleeping, leaning against the tavern wall. He's just kind of snoozing, drunk, and now you can kind of see where he got the hat from.
Yeah. I just tossed the hat back on the drunk guy's head.
Not less here.
Delon shakes his head.
Alrighty. With that, Eleanor, I've subtracted some currency from her sheet as well, because she basically made you some health pots.
Nice.
So you can put them in the bag of holding, or you could divvy them up to who you feel should have the health pots currently. It's up to y'all.
To the bag.
Huh. Delon didn't actually go into detail on what the lady was.
No, he
He
didn't.
just said he installed it. I just laughed because he didn't specifically go into it.
Well, Bob already knows who the lady is, though.
Yeah, but like your bub.
Yeah, I mean,
I won't ask questions until I need to, essentially.
Yeah, that's basically like, it's not important. Nature.
Basically.
But already, as
What?
the party heads out from the tavern, making their way into the cart, and as well as beginning to guide it down the way, you take a moment to look back at Asterium. It's kind of been a home for you all for a little bit now, a few weeks, maybe roughly a month or so at this point, maybe. And as you head off, you feel a bit of excitement for the quest at hand, but also a bit of dread about having to pass through the notoriously shady and criminal Nebulum.
Do we do the? Oh, we'll save that for later. So it's noticeable that we're now in Nebulum. We're about to cross the border.
You are essentially leaving Asterium and you are approaching the border to Nebulum. As you get closer to it, you see that it didn't take long for getting close to the border to Nebulum for the greenery to start getting a bit more brownish, for the soot and the dirt in the ground to look extremely well nourished, and for a slight, an ever so slight haze to begin to be in the air. Not enough to be obscuring or even cause harm, just a little ever so slight haze in the air.
Mhm.
Eleanor, who is currently manning the cart, will pull the cart to a stop and look over at the border here. Well then, once we cross over there, we'll be properly in Nebulum.
Hmm.
Don't mind the haze. I've read it's from the volcano. It spreads all over Nebulum.
Hmm.
And while there are a handful of places where we might need to be have our wits about us, most of Nebulum are rolling hills or open spaces. So we
Mhm.
should be able to see any such highwaymen coming, I'd imagine.
Or they would
Yeah,
see
not
us coming
necessarily.
long before we do.
That that is also true. Unfortunately.
I
I
don't
really
think
am
it
just.
is
No, go ahead.
true. No, I was gonna say. So Gildas is right. I think no matter, it's like they know the roads better than we. I'm sure they'll make their presence known far before we would have ever encountered them. It's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, but when we meet them.
Uh-huh. Speaking of when, I wonder when we could tell first. Or rather, how soon.
Alrighty.
Probably a matter of hour.
60 years later.
Where's the fucking checkpoint?
To the downside to playing a human.
Uh-huh. Says the kobold.
Kobolds live at least 120 years.
If they could survive past 10.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's like very front loaded.
It is, honestly. But alrighty. So with that, the party heads over the border into Nebulum and begins making their way through. Now, I am curious about this. Does the party want to try and be stealthy as they're passing through? That will make them go a little slower. Or do they want to try to forego that and just try to get through quickly, but not in a haste?
I don't know, because, like, being stealthy makes us all shady, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
When in
because
Rome.
yeah, well,
Obviously, we need to always stealth. We should just get like a big tarp that has like a bunch of like bushes drawn on and just like like travel that way.
Travel with a big old tart that looks like a shambling mound.
Or just like some bushes and stuff.
me rich days, me rich God.
I've had shambling mounds on my brain lately.
Uh-huh.
Man, that was the most unlucky thing ever. Um,
Oh, but I guess, there's no harm trying to stealth, honestly. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, if you are making a stealth, I want all of you to make stealth rolls that are with the party currently.
I have
Oh
to roll in
boy.
the virtual tabletop. I can't just lay on my bed and roll a d20 like I do in my other game.
Can I just can my horse? Can my horse make the silent
If you
roll?
wish to, yes, your horse could attempt to
You're
roll
riding
stealth
it.
because
Yeah.
you are riding the horse.
But it doesn't have its own stats.
You have both extremes, like a nat 20 and a nat 1.
At least Eleanor, who's manning the cart, is quite stealthy.
I got a 15, so that's pretty good, actually.
Well,
And
again,
Bob
doesn't
chose
matter,
not
but-
to activate Pass Without Trace this time, so.
Well, honestly, it's fine if I get spotted, honestly.
Let's
So you're
see.
welcome.
Delon, you should have access to your horse's sheet. Oh yeah, you're messing with it there. There we go.
Okay. Character sheet. Has no ability to roll anything besides initiative.
It has perception, so you need to click like if you're rolling, you'd roll the +4 red perception. If you're wanting to roll its stealth, just click Dex. It'll just make a Dex roll essentially, a blank Dex roll. There you go.
Okay. It tried.
It did try. Alrighty. So. Alright. So as the party is traveling through Nebulum, the party is mostly traveling very quietly, a bit slowly, but they're traveling pretty well. You feel like you haven't alerted anything, you feel like nobody's really paying too much attention to you. However, Gildos, due to your perception, you can see that as you are traveling down the road with your cart, you're not drawing any attention to yourself, realistically speaking. Traveling stealthily through Nebulum is essentially just traveling through Nebulum while making as little of a spectacle as possible. So, essentially drawing as little attention to yourself as possible. Not really moving quietly, just moving unassumingly. Like, you're just, well, we belong here, kind of a thing. We're not,
Right.
don't pay us attention. However, Gildas, with your perception, you see that a farmer, who is essentially running a rake through his field, stops raking entirely and watches you, specifically you, as you go.
Oh,
He
boy.
then goes after staring for a long moment, begins raking again.
Yeah.
No longer staring.
Nibble is charming as ever.
Surprised. There's a lot more farmland than I actually anticipated. What is that? The
Oh.
10th or 15th farm we've passed.
Oh, yeah, no, there's plenty of farm. Just, well, if anything, the rural people are better than the city folks. Because at least they have some sort of charitable heart. In a
Truly.
way.
That is
Yeah.
quite good to know, actually.
Yeah. Say you want to, well, say night has fallen and you're looking for a place to stay. You can just go walk up to one of those farms here, knock on the door, show 1 silver, and they'll let you stay for the night. Of course, it's just for the night, so once dawn breaks, they come with a pitchfork and get you out.
I see. So, welcoming to a point, and then you best not overstay your welcome.
Right, and then yes, the Nebulim shows up. But at least you know that, so that, well, if we're ever still on the road by the time night falls. Okay, we can look for a place to stay here. Although,
as you're traveling in Nebulum, you find that now that you're in Nebulum's countryside proper, you're still skirting the border. You're trying to stay as far out of Nebulum as possible, essentially. So you're staying on one of the main roads. It's a very obvious main road that has a lot of traffic. You actually see certain carts pass by you. However, nobody in other regions, if you met a fellow merchant, they kind of tip their hat at you, they acknowledge you, but they don't.
Right.
They very clearly make no eye contact. One of the carriages you passed by has what looks about like 15 different arrows just embedded in the wooden cart. And they look spooked as they pass you. They notably ka and kind of hasten their convoy along. Not wanting any association, they want to get out. They don't want to meet anyone else, essentially. But you notice that there's almost no grass. There's almost no, like, tall grass, no weeds. It is just dirt, dry roads, like, as far as you can see. Or farmland ready to be tilled or being rotated, as far as you can see. However, in the distance, you can see what look like massive pillars, high towers, and a very, very dense smog around that area. Like, it looks, you can see the smog from here. Not very far behind that, you can see a mighty mountain that is billowing a plume of black smoke. Those of you who want to roll knowledge history, it's a really easy check. You can do so now.
Okay.
Uh-huh. We did it.
Very nice.
Tamiba Mandiba.
So Geldos, you know that immediately that is Mount Pyrium. And it sits roughly behind and almost as if overlooking Nebulum proper. Delon, you know the exact same thing. That is Mount Pyrium and the Nebulum city of, well, Nebulum. You know that most of the smog in Nebulum comes from Mount Pyrium or Pyrium, and it's very easy to see from there. If it's interesting, due to the way Nebulum is, you can see things very far out if you're perceptive for it. But it's hard to make out exact details, but you can see dots, etc. But you know that the smog in Nebulum comes from Mount Pyrium, and that the closer you get to the main city, the harder it is actually to breathe normally. The easier it is for someone to get either fatigued or potentially poisoned if they're unused to it.
With a mask.
19th century China, let's go.
But alrighty. As you're traveling some more, you begin to go up one of the very few rolling hills. It started to go up. It's a little ravine, a little cavern of sorts. There's not a path that leads around it. Noticeably speaking, it's one of the only places with dead, very dense trees and harsh foliage, like brambles and briars, around this area. To go around it would take you well out of your way and would take a lot of time that the party doesn't have currently. So
Right.
Eleanor, kind of noticing this, kind of cracks the whips again and continues down this path. Now, as you head down this path, you notice that you go up and then you begin to kind of go down, as it crests a hill and then goes down into the ravine. And eventually, you're traveling the ravine. It's a surprisingly long ravine. When Gildos, you see a hawk in the air, cries out, and begins circling above you.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly afterwards,
Yeah, I was about to say, since we're in the rabbit and all that, just something like that happened, I'll just ready my weapons just in case, cause if ambush there is a little bit.
Who needs both? Am I right?
Alright, you should be on the map.
So
So, you hear of movement, and you can see, Gillis, you can hear movement in the hills above you. And, Hawk circles back and flies into this direction somewhere. And as Eleanor pulls the cart to a stop, you all can see that a man has appeared in front of your trail with two armed, what look like brigands, beside him. He's currently got his hands outstretched in a passive-looking gesture, as if welcoming you, but also mentioning no harm, despite the men in front of on either side of him having their bows drawn. Almost immediately, the party notices that their escape behind them, the only other exit, is quickly cut off by three men, each all essentially doing the same thing, cutting off your retreat. They look as such. The man with his hands outstretched, he is a haggard, scarred-looking man. He actually has an eye patch on, and he just looks surprised. He looks like he is 1 foot in the grave, but he has a beautiful scabbard on his hip with it's a gilded hilt of the blade sticking out. Welcome, dear travelers.
I was just murdered myself. Well, it certainly took longer than I thought.
I see you're moving through our lovely country of Nebulum. How have the sights been?
Ah, well, seeing Montpelier in person is a sight to behold, but other than that, well, it's been mostly farmlands and smog and no grass. The usual. I mean, you would know. When are you?
Indeed, indeed. Well then, since you're new here, I think you should be aware that there are many, many undesirables in this country. The kind that would attack your convoy on sight. So me and my group of entrepreneurs would love to offer you our protective services. We guarantee you safe passage through Nebulum, so long as you pay the courier fee.
Ah, we've heard about them indeed. And I just, look behind and say, wow, that's quite the protective embrace you got here, even covering our escape route. Professional, aren't you?
Very much so. Gotta make sure that you are not getting surrounded. Be very disadvantageous for you.
Uh-huh.
By the way, Bub, what's the insight for?
17. Is he BSing us?
Yes and no. He's BSing you, and that, he's not BSing you in that there are people who would attack your convoy on sight, likely worse undesirables than even his motley crew. He is also not BSing you that you can tell that he's being honest. If you pay the fee, he will personally make sure that your group does not get attacked again. However, he is BSing you when it comes to being an entrepreneur.
Well, yeah, I'll,
Bub's just like,
You're being stuck up, essentially. It's a stick up.
Yeah.
So, I can do my train of thought and say, now, I may not be a professional like you, but, just taking a look at the terrain around here and all that, and I don't know. You were to offer protection, from bandit ambushes and all that. Would it have been better to just wait at the mouth of the ravine and, I don't know, stop passers by and say, hey, that ravine you're about to cross? Yeah, it's a bit dangerous, Or maybe we can just offer you protection and say, I don't know, 50 gold? Does that right? Well, like I said, I'm no professional, so maybe you do it that way. I don't know, I'm not judging.
I can tell you're not a professional. Purely because you do have elementary understanding of Nebulum.
You know. Nibbles are such good neighbors, am I right?
Oh, aye. The best of neighbors. In fact, we're quite trustworthy despite the rumors. Ain't that right, boys? Aye.
So, how much is that gonna cost us? Should we accept, of course?
The escort fee. Due to the tense nature of the current border, and usually the escort fee is about 50 gold. But at the moment there's a bit more tension. Some upstart vagabonds roaming the countryside. Types that wish to stranglehold merchant carts. There's been some unfortunate carts that we've successfully protected that their carts got slightly damaged by these upstarts. But we managed to rout quite a few of them.
Uh-huh.
Due to the nature of the current severity and the fact that my men are wearing a little low on ammunition, it'll cost you about 100 gold for safe passage.
Oh, I see. Well, see. Just I know you're such good neighbors and all that. I came prepared. So, give me just 5 seconds so I can get the money out and I can give it to you,
Of course, of course.
And so, I turn around, still a quick glance at Darlin,
Yeah.
say like, get ready. And
Yeah.
I take
By the
my...
way, Gildos, you could tell their quivers have never been fuller. They're very full quivers. They are not low on ammunition at all.
Right. So I'll take my copper pouch, tie it up, and toss him to him.
So, how much copper are you throwing at him?
Well, I have 45 copper.
Okay, so you throw him 45 copper. So, he catches it, and nods, and slowly, methodically, very visibly, pulls the string a little to look inside. He holds up the one copper piece in the air, holds it to the light, and then his eyes fall back on you, and he has a knowing gaze about him. I'm afraid you didn't quite hear me right, my dear friend. It was 100 gold, not 45 copper.
Oh, I'm sorry. Isn't that worth 100 gold nibblium, though?
No, no. Far from it, far from it. No, this will get my boys. What would you say, boys? Do you think we could afford a cheap prostitute for 45 copper? Yeah, one of those barnyard girls. Not a barnyard lass again. Oh, fucking hell. She's looser than my grand.
So I'm just, prepare some hold person spell.
Mhm.
After that.
At this point, Delon's gonna kind of look at the look at his party. Oh. I have a proposition. Is it good? Would you care? Is it good? Would you care if I explored it, Sir Gildas?
Exploded?
Basically. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but Nebulese enjoy a challenge, do they not?
Do they, Marshall?
a sense, some of them do. They
So,
enjoy
say-
certain challenges. Ronaldians enjoy challenges much more. However, Nebulese and Ronaldians are sister countries in many ways. While Ronaldians adore a good challenge, Nebulese people can be interested in one. Should the reward for completion be worth it?
That's what I'll say. Some do, man. Still one less than the dude saying.
Delon nods then.
I feel like this one
Mhm.
might accept. I don't like sure, but what's the try?
Why not? Basically, he's just saying like, why not?
It's just essentially.
Okay. All right. Delon will nod at that, and he will gingerly, with his horse, move about halfway and say, "You, do you lead this company?"
Oh, I. What about
Good.
you, White Dragonborn? You their leader? Is that your diplomat?
Hardly. I'm their fighter.
Oh. So you are the muscle then?
In a sense. And I'm looking upon it, and I'm seeing some certain details, and I was wondering, should we, Izika, we've paid you what we believe is a decent amount, and you've scoffed at it. You say you can protect us. Are you so certain of that?
Absolutely.
Then perhaps you'd be willing to fight a challenge. A proper duel of sorts, to determine your strength. Should you succeed, there'd be no doubts of your skill. But should you fail, then we can protect ourselves without your necessary. And of course, that would save you for another individuals. Why waste resources after all?
You see as he wags a finger at you as he speaks, a smirk on his face. That's an interesting idea. We could wait and see if there's perhaps an Asterium merchant's convoy with a valuable wild creature locked in a cage on convoy to somewhere else. However, are you a betting man, White Dragonborn? See, I'm a betting man. Oh, I'm a betting man. Would you like to gamble on it?
You're already giving us very little details. Not already putting 100 gold on the table, yet you want more.
Ah, well, you see, such an arrangement as this is... it's an odd one. My men and I are not used to one combatant attempting to claim a duel of sorts. As such, I was curious. What is in it for us if we do best you, outside of proving our worth as defenders? Why should we accept such a claim? After all, we're very confident in our capabilities, aren't we, boys? Yeah.
Because you would have bested in combat a white dragonborn. Imagine what reputation you would gain from that. Should you win, of course.
Indeed. That is an interesting quandary. Perhaps we could be blessed with some sort of benefactor by the Red Dragon for besting a disciple of his sister. Who knows? Maybe I could become a Dragonborn myself.
So Delon's eyes narrow, as if you son of a bitch. But he pulls back. Indeed. It's a duel then. Yes or no?
On the grounds that if we succeed, you agree to the payment. And we'll take something off that card. My boys have been
But,
really wanting some imported ale. See that flagon of Dwarven Ale there? 100 gold in the Dwarven Ale. We'll make sure you get through successfully. Safely, unharmed. And if you win,
it should.
you can go find his Danny, proving your worth.
And you stop this nonsense.
Nonsense. I see no nonsense here. Simply a business arrangement.
I glance back to the party. I won't do anything until I get a nod or a no.
Well, Marshall,
Yeah.
when I use Blessing of the Forge, is it visible from the outside?
Yes. Your symbol of Bridget would essentially appear on whatever you bless it on.
Uh-huh. So I can't just tap that on the shoulder, like give it +1 AC.
No.
I notice it.
Divine
Oh.
type things like that are usually pretty visible. They're honest.
Well, considering if you lose, that'll be on my paycheck. I'll be like, yeah, sure. I trusted you.
Eleanor leans down from her cart towards you, Delon. I do not believe these men are to be trusted, Delon. If they best you, they'll just take advantage of it. If they fail, you'll be weakened. We're surrounded.
Have you any better idea then?
I do not know. They outnumber us.
Look at their armor, Lady Eleanor. What do you see?
She looks around and will make a perception roll for her.
No, not bad. 10's not bad.
Leather, bows, cloth hoods, leather boots.
Hardly armament. We are more armored and more well prepared than 6, all of them combined. Now, from the distance, you can see that. Even I can see that from a distance. The most well armored is that gentleman. One hand.
Yes, he's
and one
wearing
arm.
studded leather and has an immaculately looking blade.
Mm.
He has daggers in his flak there.
I know you and Bob can take care of those on your own. And I know Gildas can take the others. This is the best opportunity I can see to at least getting one of them, their leader, down to a pinch.
Oh, what, darling? I'll do you a solid. Do something about those. And so, I woke up, like, between the two of you, right? And say, I present my holy symbol, and say, I'll invoke divine authority over this duel. Any who shall interfere before, during, or after, no matter the outcome, shall be smited, myself included.
Fair enough.
Are we in agreement? Although two. Basically everyone.
So,
Mm.
make insight roll, Gildas.
Oh, should I? Yeah, I do have. That's
11.
11.
That modifier? Damn. Alright, so
Yeah.
it's not hard to tell what due to the bowmen. You can see that the bowmen look specifically, their eyes briefly flicker in this direction and this direction. They seem worried as you mentioned divinity. However, this man, the leader, is unfazed. I agree to these terms.
Delon, can I roll perception for that, seeing how they look?
Oh, you may.
Oh, not bad, 11.
11. All right.
So, so
You can
did
tell
did I see them?
they're. You can see that these men, and the men behind you as well,
Mhm.
they're a little antsy as the mention of being smited after the duel is mentioned.
Did I see their eyes dart to the areas around them?
Yes, you would
Or
see
glance
that their
specifically?
eyes darted in this direction or this direction.
I'll then whisper to Eleanor. Eleanor, prepare. Lady Eleanor, Bub. I saw them glancing on the northwest and the southeast. Then we have company we cannot see. Should this go awry, prepare yourself.
Understood.
And it's like and he can see how nervous Eleanor, and he's gonna smile. I'm gonna roll charisma.
All right. Gonna try to
'Cause,
bolster her courage.
Also, everybody's courage, basically the whole party.
Sounds good.
Actually, in fact, before we even start combat, I'm going to use heroic inspiration.
This is an appropriate time for that. Even though
Yep.
combat's not happening, you could just inspire those around you with your confidence.
Yep. That's what I'm gonna do, basically. And anyone who wants that dice, they can have it. Sorry. There you go. 15.
Very good.
Nice. 15. Delon will give her everyone a smile, and he'll look up at everyone. He's like, don't be worried. Tis be a grand battle, one for the ages. He's like, one for the ages. Now come back. He's like, come back just the way it was. He gives her a wink.
You see Eleanor smiles back and nods. Her resolve returned. Alright then, dear Dragonborn. Before we arrange this sort of understanding, we must both agree to the terms in which we'll be fighting. You agree that no outside influence. Your man said as such. So you would agree then that your horse would be considered an outside influence.
Glances down.
Your horse just narrows his eyes at the man and literally spits on the ground at his feet. He just shrugs like, outside influence.
Yeah. Delon's gonna tap the horse. Don't worry, babe. I got this. Winks one more time and hops off his horse.
But what about man and mount united as one? There's no outside influence.
You can assume Voltron later.
Yeah. Basically, he wants mono e mono.
Excellent. Then in that case, I will agree as well that no one will interfere. Neither my men will give any potions. They will neither use any arrows. We won't even cheer.
That's quite drastic.
In that case, Montulio, it's time for you to make yourself useful. And a man begins walking out from a hovel. He is just tossing a single platinum coin in his palm as he walks over. Hello, how are we doing today? Seems that I've been summoned to be your duel partner. See, as the man looks as such, you can tell as well, Delon, that even though he's wearing what looks like cloth, you can see the flash of what looks like almost mithril or something beneath the clothing every once in a while. It's elvish made.
Delon's demeanor slightly stiffens, and he actually takes this far more seriously. Like, oh, okay, they had a trump card. I figured as much. You'll to be my dueling opponent.
As you say that, he nods at you. That I will be. Outrun Tulio! Montulio. But my friends and my enemies call me Tulio. At your service. Let's make this a good duel. And as he is
Indeed.
bowing and gesturing, he catches the coin, pockets it, and gives you a devilish grin. As you notice very obviously, Delon, he is eyeing you up, sizing you up as he walks in. And as he looks at you, you see as his eyes fall on the horse for a moment, and then they come back to you, and you see a sly smirk on his face. As if he knows something about you. Well then, shall we get this started? And he draws a silvered rapier.
Yep. I'll try not to fuck it up, guys.
There's 100 gold writing on this.
I know. We don't have time for this shit.
Alright.
It's fine if you lose. I have like a
Yeah,
50 left over, so good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm climbing on that little bit of rocks, just to overlook
Yeah.
the thing. As to not to be in the way too.
This guy is clearly a man of virtue.
Evan just saw the look of this guy's face.
He's just misunderstood.
Really?
So he will move closer to you.
Mhm.
Alrighty, and he is going to roll his silvered rapier to attack you.
Ooh. Well, I have an AC of 18.
Oh yeah, that's right. You actually have good AC.
Alrighty. And he is going to, so he comes over and, let's see. So, you see as he rushes towards you, swinging his rapier in a move as if it's a very well-placed thrust. It is a almost classically trained, almost noble-looking thrust. And then, with a flick of his wrist, you see as he twists the hilt and cuts you along the face. As he hits you. I meant to roll this one, actually. I'll just do this for the damage purposes. But he rolled a 22.
Oh, okay.
And you take 19 damage.
Awesome.
Sorry about that, lad. But I have a paycheck to make. It should be well mended. And for a dragonborn like yourself, it should be a legendary scar. The ladies love a man filled with scars.
Well, I'm not really sure if I can take another hit like that. Then again, he rolled like the max of his thing twice.
Yeah, he rolled very good damage.
I don't want to use my Spirit Surge already. But... Alright. Well, this is an honorable duel, so I'm going to use honorable attack, which means I will take disadvantage on this. But that means next time I hit, I roll extra weapon die. Should I even get to that point.
Alrighty.
So I'm gonna use my longsword, because of course. No. I think not. There we go. Ooh, yeah. No. Okay, well, at disadvantage already. I was gonna miss.
You do have still a drama die, essentially, inspiration die, essentially from sleeping in the tavern before you left.
True. I guess I could do that, but I mean, it's still a. Yeah, I might as well. Alright, I'll use an inspiration die. I'll give it another shot. Okay, still not too much better. I'm gonna miss either way.
So as you go to swing your longsword on him, he does a quick sidestep, sort of moving out of the way very nimbly and quickly. And you notice he does not even attempt to parry it. His blade never touches yours. Essentially, he knows that he couldn't beat you in a test of strength. Alrighty. You've got a lot of arms on you. Strong back, too. Sorry about this, dear chap. But I'll make sure it ain't lethal. Not been tasked to kill you, just beat you.
Okay.
And that is 21 damage.
Wait, he attacked at a 10. He shouldn't have.
No, he has a specific trait. Remember, he rolled
Okay,
an
I'm
insight
0.
check just before the fight.
Alright, well, I'm 0. It's already over. I'm in the negatives.
So, he quickly lunges forwards and chinks right in a single spot where your armor is, and you notice that he did a light graze so that it was non-lethal, dropping you to 1 HP, and then turned around and sheathed his blade, walking back to his man. He pauses for a moment, and then turns back to you, and holds a hand down to offer you a hand up. Sorry about that. If this is a duel, I should be sportsmanlike.
If you're not sportsmanlike in combat, don't insult a gesture.
He stares at you for a moment, just kind of. He gives like a nod that with a shrug, like, fair enough, and takes his hand back. Is that good enough for you? Aye, you were worth every penny. Thank you. Since that is handled, I'll be expecting my fair share of that 100 gold. Now I'll definitely take 2 flagons of that dwarven ale. We'll arrange the payments afterwards. No, we're arranging the payment now. I just won you 100 gold and dwarven ale. He gives the most condescending, cocky smirk. By the way, Gildos, as you climb on the rocks a little bit, you become very quickly aware of some men that are standing with their backs flush against this boulder, with their bows ready and an arrow docked to fire at a moment's notice.
So I'll say, I know the drill's over, but I know you're there, so maybe just come out, say hello.
As you say that, you hear like a fumbling with the bows and arrows, and then they keep their position as if refusing to leave until they have been told to.
Well, I know. You heard what I said, so anyway. Oh, and perhaps they'll say here. I know from like the gaze of those two that there's somebody over there as well. And say, As I toss like the two bag of 50 down the road there, I'll say, "Hey, you two over there, you can come out as well. You know, make it a party."
You see as the highwayman gives a nod to the left and the right, and essentially you see as more men appear.
Uh huh.
And you are paying the leader the 2 bags of 50 gold, correct?
Yeah, I trust them.
Okay. So he catches them. However, he catches one of the bags. The other bag is caught in the air on the end of a rapier as it slides down into the hand of their sellsword. Thank you kindly. You can't just take 50 gold from this. On the contrary, I did most of the work. You're lucky I'm only taking half the pay. The leader simply glares at him as his thumb sort of caresses the hilt of his blade. He's thinking about it, but then his hand stills and he shakes his head. Fine. You may keep that 50 gold. Just understand who has power in this dynamic. You answer to me. Understood? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As long as you have my contract, I answer to you. Now,
So
I have to
yeah,
go
as he
back to
move-
finding a hawk.
As he moves away, I'll say, "Hey, sellsword, by the way." No, I toss him the 2 flagon of ale he asked for.
He turns, catches them, and raises them both in the air as if in thanks to you. Thank you kindly. I'll remember this.
Well, then, as I'm near the cart, I help Dalan up as well, you know, dust him off a little bit. Say, well, you did your best.
No. It was a cheat. I fell for it. And I failed you. And now we're down 100 gold.
Look, there's no use crying over spilled milk at this point. We're lucky to be, well, even alive at this point, considering the number of men, but
Hmm.
must have hurt your pride a little bit, as it did.
As you're talking, Eleanor comes down from the cart and hands essentially the cask of dwarven ale to the men behind her, who take it over and put it in somewhere in the woods. Essentially, she then comes over to you, Delon, and reaches into essentially the bag of holding and hands you one of the red potions. Please.
I'm gonna push it aside. No. I'm just gonna walk past them both and get back on my horse.
She seems pained as you do that, but she doesn't push the issue, simply keeping it in her hand and close to her person for now. Eventually, the leader of the bandits, these highwaymen, takes out from his flak jacket, essentially, a flute, and plays a single note. His men all begin dispersing, and he then looks to you as this man, the sellsword, comes over, drinking some dwarven ale as he comes over, kind of still doing his jig. Alright then. With payment secured, we will make sure that you are not waylaid further. Apologize for this messy business, but if you are sending your best men, I felt the need to send my best man.
The arrangement was for you and I. Technically, that was against the divinity placed upon you. It is only within that technically that you are not smited at this time. And you should count yourself exceedingly lucky that his lady is more merciful than mine would have been.
I understand, Dragonborn. I understand. But it's in that I have not been smited, that I believe that his lady, and likely your own, smiles on us, and on our arrangement. We'll make sure you get safe travel. You have my word. Well, by technically speaking, out of game real quick, he did not necessarily break the rules either. He kind of bent them, but that's how Nebly's people are.
I know, and Delon is furious right now. So
Understandably.
understandably, he was expecting an honorable duel. He was cheated of that. He was bested, not only his pride and his personal stake in it, and he's seen the worst of Nebulum. Like that's like the best display of how Nebulys act. And he's like, no wonder. It's like, how the fuck am I gonna help these people if they can't even abide by something simple as that?
Savages.
Basically, like the joke was basically.
I will mention how I feel about how this went out after the session, but I am both happy at the moment and also pained. That's what I'll say for now.
Well, you know, if you want to join the Nebelim Hate Club, I welcome you with arms open.
Yeah. Basically, Bob's gonna whisper, there's that other guy. They don't seem to get along. What's up with that?
He's a sellsword, Bub. A mercenary. Mercenaries work for pay, and usually speaking, they're only loyal as long as the gold holds out.
Well, then why were they fighting then?
A disagreement on pay.
Hmm.
And judging from the capabilities of this man, it's very likely he is worth a pretty penny. However, I don't like him at all. He has this awful way of things. As she's talking about him, you all see as the man gives a audible burp after drinking the dwarven ale, pats his chest, and winks towards Eleanor. Ugh. Barbaric.
Oh god. Well. Welcome to the deep south.
Yeah, so Bob just like, something's up over there. I will pay close attention.
But alrighty, so with this, they actually, you notice that while they keep a bit of an arm's distance, you notice that you are flanked by a small militia as you are continue moving out through Nebulum. You actually see a hawk fly overhead. However, another hawk is sent up from the leader of these bandits, and they clash talons in the air before one of them flies away. And his hawk returns to him, and he simply runs a finger over its head in a stroking measure. Don't worry. They understand that we've got you well under control. It's a warning measure. And he actually does keep to his word. He leads you from the rest of the cavern to the exit of Nebulum. Safe passage. He stops decent distance from the border, but still all his men are within eyesight. And inclines his head to you. And has this still very cocky smirk. Pleasure doing business with you. Next time you're traveling through Nebulum, hopefully we don't need to arrange such an arrangement, and we can go out of our way to agree that my men are more than capable.
Leave.
Of course. Alright, men, let's go. And he signals on his flute again, and his men begin leaving. Gilnos, you and Delon can see that the sellsword has his hand on his rapier and is staring out over the border of Nebulum. Tulio, get your ass in gear. Right. He takes one last, almost longing look out towards King's Landing, and begins following after them. Have safe travels.
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna remember what Tulio looks like.
Sounds good. Alright, and you all have successfully made your way currently to essentially the domain that is King's Landing. You're in the border area at the moment, in the outside area, but at the moment you are in King's Landing.
Alright.
As you arrive, you see that greenery very quickly returns. Actually, it returns before you properly get to King's Landing, as the edge is slowly becomes greener and greener. And you begin to see a lot of cottages, little like, it's very, everywhere you go in King's Landing is very well inhabited. There's a lot of people, both on the outside and on the inside. And it's just, once you return, it's a breath of fresh air. Not only metaphorically, but physically as well. As almost as soon as you step in to cross the border into King's Landing, you can feel a certain level of security. You get through towards the border town, and eventually, a man with the symbol of a Templar walks over to you all, holds up his hand. Halt! Notice you're crossing from Nebulum. We need to do an inventory search. Please understand. We'll also need to see your papers.
I was about to ask, so procure the paper.
He looks towards the paper, checks the seal, and nods, immediately handing it back to you very quickly, very efficiently. Please make sure that your men and your horse and your mule are under control. He begins looking. You see as some more Templars come out and begin kind of, with extra care, surveying your goods. There's so much professionalism in how they handle themselves that it is really quite like light and darkness with Nebulum and King's Landing. Very quickly, in less than 5 minutes, they've surveyed your goods and return. He has a brief word with one of the Templars and then turns to you all, gives a salute. Welcome to King's Landing. Please be civil and make sure you stay out of trouble. The gods are watching.
Yes, sir.
Nod.
And he stands by the side of the border town, making a come on through gesture, kind of like a traffic man would. You see, as a big old gate is slowly opened. It is a gate with a brick wall, as you are led into a further layer of King's Landing. As Delon, you would have a lot of experience with this. King's Landing has many border walls, and they function off of like each wall that you get further into the main city. You get checked multiple times before getting there, essentially. And King's Landing is secure, and as long as you do everything properly, you're allowed through very easily. Once you're here, you see that there are people just very comfortable. You can see there are civilians, farm people with their children. There's people farming. Everyone here is just smiling. Everyone's happy. People will pause to wave at you. Bub, you see some kids run over to you and start like kind of like pointing fingers at you and asking like, "What are you? Why do you look that way? You're funny."
I'm a kobold. Hear me roar. Rawr!
Ah! And they all laugh and start running away. Eleanor smiles at the sight. It's very, very welcoming. It's like the sun is just everywhere.
Oh. Suppose when you're in the middle of all those two countries, you have to at least gotta have a positive outlook on everything. Nice. Well,
I've never been to a city this big before.
Another thing of note is that anywhere you look, there is either a Templar or a high-looking or a powerful-looking knight somewhere within sight. Templars all will nod if you make eye contact with them. They'll nod your way and just kind of go back to surveying. But the military is very much present with everyone here. But many times, like a younger knight or a knight will be swarmed by children with wooden swords, and he'll pretend to duel with them or show them how to swing it around. Templars, on the other hand, if they are approached, make very little gesture and simply will like nod at the children and continue on their way. Very, very stiff, but not, and cool, but not frigid.
right. So after that, I'll say, well, everyone's positive, but you're still being watched by almost everyone, really.
Well, we have nothing to worry about. We're on a
No, we
great
don't.
quest.
We don't, but I don't know. Staying more than 2 weeks might be suffocating, to say the least.
Okay. Well, what are we gonna do now? I have to let people know, but
Delon, you mentioned that you had business at the King's Landing proper, yes? The banks?
I did.
Perhaps we can find a place to rest for cheap. Perhaps a farmer's house or something similar, and then on the morrow we could head for the bank. Resupply?
That seems good.
You see her gaze lingers on you for a moment before nodding.
Do they even do the same thing in King's Landing, though? It was just like, give them some money and you have.
we need to find the Adventurers Guild so we can stay for free.
That too.
There is definitely an adventurers guild around here. You were told to deliver, the Dwarven Ale. Or not the Dwarven Ale, but you were told to deliver a new brew, which they did not actually take. It is in the bag of holding, if memory serves.
Well, it was in the bag of holding, so they wouldn't even know about it.
Exactly. You were told to deliver that to the Adventurers Guild. The bartender mentioned that should be a very quick stop once you arrive.
So, Delon's actually just gonna, with his horse, almost in like business mode, hardly any warmth, just goes over to a Templar. Pardon me. We are looking for. He's like, I am escorting this cart to the Adventurers Guild. I have not been here back home in some time. Could you please alert me to where it is?
He nods, and in very quick fashion, gestures towards the north.
Thank you, kind Templar.
It's over the other way. If you're heading that way, I would highly recommend sending a complaint to the Knights or the Templars themselves. I cannot recommend the security or the quality of the work of the Adventurers Guild, personally. However, if you were looking for them, they're to the north. You might miss
Understood.
them, however. They are an unassuming building, nestled among other unassuming buildings.
Understood. Thank you, kind Templar. He bows respectfully.
He nods, he noticeably nods, kicks his feet together, and salutes you. Well met, White Dragonborn.
Delon raises his hand up and gives him a similar salute. He will come back and say, "'Tis to the north, nestled among regular buildings, in an unassuming place."
Not exactly
Well,
the best location, I would imagine. But I
Perhaps
suppose it
not.
would have been cheap.
Well, no use wasting time. Let's go.
She nods,
North.
and the party begins heading towards the Adventurers Guild. You head north, and you find that there is a small little hovel. A small little town of sorts. No more than maybe 10 buildings or so. They're all very close together, and it seems like it's a very small town that everybody knows who everybody is here, but very few people stop in very long. I was looking about, Gildos, you, see that there is a kind of small flag of Brigid hanging on the front door.
Uh-huh.
It looks like it's meant to be unassuming. However, it is the same sort of craftsmanship as the very big flag of Brigid that was in Asterium.
Yeah, no, I was just saying. Oh, when in doubt, follow the goblins. So I'll say, I found it.
Alright.
And motion to the very same door.
So as you head towards the door, you find that it is a simple looking almost house. It looks like it would live about maybe a decent farming family could live here. But it doesn't at all look like a tavern or like an adventurers guild of any sort. But you step on in and you hear a chime ring out, and once you enter within it, you find that one of the first things you see is a goblin with a apron on, as he is holding a piece of paper in his hands and begins reading it. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild. I am a goblin with no name who works here and has been promised not to be a problem. Please come in for the lovely wine and maybe send a request. You're doing grand.
Indeed he is.
And as you step in, you find that inside there are a decent amount of interestingly look like very, very rookie adventurers, like farmers with like no armor but maybe like a very crude sword, or farmers with pitchforks that are wearing some leather armor. See some trappers and stuff in here. This one's much more populated than the one in Asterium, but it's the quality of the people here is very, very bad.
Rookies.
As you step in, you see that the man behind the bar is a very striking similarity to the man that you could see over here. You saw at Asterium. However,
Oh my gosh.
this one is wearing instead of a red shirt, he's wearing a purple shirt. But he looks identical to the one in Asterium. His eyes seem to focus on you and your pins, and he immediately reaches under the counter and takes out 4 glasses and begins pouring wine into them. Come on, rest your feet, travelers. I've long since heard y'all been coming. Got here rather quickly. Hey, make way! Intermediates coming through! Respect your superiors. As you're walking through, you can also see that, Delon, that nestled amongst some of the farm people is a familiar face.
Oh, goodness.
He's smoking his pipe while listening to a farmer tell of a supposedly startling encounter with a chupacabra. But he's listening attentively all the same. Alrighty. I imagine the party heads up over to the bar. Alright. So as you arrive at the bar, you find 4 glasses of wine already poured and ready for you. And the barkeep is polishing wine glasses, and he has big old barrels of what look like grape or strawberry or something wine. The wine that he has in front of him does smell very fruity.
Well, each brother has its own specialty, it seems.
That we do. Now then, how was the trip? You seem a little bit alright. Though, you look a little bit long-faced there, Dragonborn.
Delon reaches into the bag of holdings, and he produces a wine bottle. For you.
Really? Takes a look at it. Rolls it in his hands a bit, holds it up to the light, smiles at it. Ah, that brother of mine trying to make mead into wine. It's adorable. Maybe this one won't taste like piss and vinegar. Cheer up, chap. Have a drink some wine to make you feel better.
Bub's gonna start slurping at his wine.
Bub, as you taste the wine, it is very sweet, very fruity, and very strong. Like, it's not a very big wine glass, and there's not very much in it. But as you begin slurping at it, you realize why. Eleanor takes a small sip, but smiles and puts it down, looking at the wine. Oh my, this is surprisingly exquisite. It's gotta be if I'm gonna sell it in King's Landing.
So, I'll be third then, or fourth, and take a sip.
Gildos, as you take a sip, it is a very fruity, grapey, somewhat strawberry kind of bouquet, with a hint of a spiciness to it. It's like spiced, potent wine.
Yeah, so you're using quite a few things to make that.
That's the summer wine. Now, tell me about your travels. How'd it go? So quiet, so sullen.
Well, we took the scenic route of Nebulum, with all the implications, and, well, I say I'll just lean in close to the barkeep and say, he lost a duel.
Ah. Damn fucking highwaymen. Cheer up, lad. If it was your first duel with a Nebulese mercenary, don't take it too harsh. They all fight like that.
Lana,
Ah.
remember this.
Other than that, it was surprisingly calm, I would say.
The countryside and the border route is decently relaxing, in an unsettling ghost town kind of a way.
Mm-hmm.
He reaches under the counter and throws you, Delon, a little satchel, a little satchel bag of coin. For safe travel and giving and couriering of the goods my brother gave you.
Delon grabs the bag and then tosses it to Gildas.
Gildas, as you look inside the bag, you find that there is about 20 gold in here.
Well, I'll
That's pretty
know
good.
it. Just with the other 50. Then, I'll turn back to the barkeep and say, this is King's Landing, so I then look at all the rookie adventurers. I don't know, expected some better gear for
Ah,
them.
well, you would think that, but as you see, a lot of farm boys come over seeking grandeur, and they make it or they don't. And we're not here long enough for most of the people to come to us with official tasks. They go to the Templars, or the Knights, or the Guards, or one of the other groups around here for something like that. Maybe they'll try to send a letter to their lord, their local lord. They do most of that. People who come to us are usually coming for something a little more quiet, or potentially they don't want a lot of officials getting involved. Nothing unsavory. Don't worry about that. I make sure of that. It's just some business you don't want to get the Templar involved with. They have a very one paintbrush kind of method of doing things.
Well, rat catching is a good exercise, so.
Oh, aye. There ain't rats. Not down there.
This place, we look at the jobs and it's clean displacer beast cage over and over again.
If you do look at
What
the jobs,
is
by the
actually
way.
on there?
Oh
What
yes,
is
I was about to
actually-
say that. I didn't write these down yet, but essentially, on the job board you see a farmer has mentioned a desire for essentially a trapper to kill some rats that are eating his fields. Another is a job for somebody to hunt and kill a chupacabra that is killing his crops. Another mentions, my daughter ran away with the farmer 2 counties over. I want her back.
We are not
Most
doing
realistic
this again.
quest.
We're not doing this again.
Another one mentions my great grandmother's prized brooch was stolen after my house was broken into last night. The guards are still looking into it, but I want it done quicker.
That's promising.
Other stuff similar to that. There's a surprising variety of quests here. However, a lot of them are kind of busy work. But the interesting thing is they all pay surprisingly well. No quest is paying you less than a silver.
Aha.
Even trapping and catching the rats and killing them will pay you like maybe 3 silver per rat killed. Kind of a thing.
That's way better than what we were getting before.
Yeah, no, it was 5 copper per rat.
I know. We've come a long way. Speaking of that, are there any like specifically graded missions, like only seasoned adventurers or something to that effect?
There are a handful of those. There's an intermediate rank quest, which is actually the brooch quest is one of those.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
Another one mentions for senior adventurers only. It's one of the only ones that's for somebody even above your current rank. It mentions I desire uh I desire for an adventurer to accompany me on my family's pilgrimage.
Hmm. Sounds promising.
The
Yeah.
payment is listed as good faith.
Well, that certainly does sound interesting.
We're not at that level yet. I want to fight the chupacabra.
Oh,
Bub says, like with no. Like,
whatever it
that
is,
and the
though.
brooch, I think, are the most promising quests for now. I mean, we could just do personal stuff, but if we want to pick up a quest, that's what I think we should do.
Well, we certainly do have like a quest-holder character with us now. He's eager to advance, so just to look turn to Eleanor and say, "Oh, what do you think?"
Well, since the whole point of our quest is to put ourselves in a better position and sow connections and reap rewards, it would make a lot of sense to attempt to get in good with certain people and officials here. Make a good first impression. The mention of payment in faith is an odd one. Who pays in faith? Is it goodwill? Is it a promise of something else? Well, I don't understand that one.
Can I roll
Oh,
history on this?
that was a holy boy that came in for that.
Can
What was
I,
that,
can I
Delon?
make roll on this?
You may. You may
Yeah,
add advantage
Delon's-
on it because you're from King's Landing.
Yeah.
So you would know, like, the culture or lore of the area.
Mm. Oh, thanks for an 18 now.
21. Alright. So, Delon, with a 21, as you hear about payment in faith, you would actually have a decent familiarity with this, as noble families will usually pay when a certain son or heir needs to go on a spiritual quest. Usually there is a task that needs doing that is given to them by their deity or a high priest of their deity. It is a rite of passage to essentially go further with their faith. They will request knights or promising young squires to accompany them. Essentially, you would know this pretty well from your family as well. If you succeed, the person who, when they get higher up, will actually the faith is both it will be very good for you in the eyes of their deity, but it is also simultaneously, when they finish what they're doing and their full thing, they will sing praises of your success to, or potentially, if you were already bad about it, your failure to the people that they need to meet.
Mm.
It's a way for you to get in good with higher ups and potentially go from a sellsword to a knighthood. Not necessarily a lorddom, but a knighthood. You could become a little more recognized. These sorts of quests are not uncommon, but they are also rather highly sought after. You essentially are interviewed first, and the person going on the quest meets with everybody who wants to do it and will personally pick the best candidate.
Mm. In King's Landing, faith isn't just for the deity, it's also for a house, often requested by one of their deities or god or a priest. It is a quest in which that family line is, or young heir to be, is requested. And if a sellsword wishes to become more prominent, and if this heir-to-be wishes to be looked well upon by his ancestors and his future king family, they go on a quest. Gaining faith is also equivalent to favor. It is the lifeblood of King's Landing. It is its truest economy, not in gold, but in faith. A sellsword can become a knight through faith. A young heir can become a lord through faith. An old lord can perhaps one day turn their family from knights into a small lordom, and a lordom high enough can find their way to King's Landing at last.
Wow.
Quite the system.
So that's what it's like in King's Landing. I
That
had
is what
read
it's
about
like
such
when-
things, but
Indeed. 'Tis what happens when you have respect and decency as your paradigms.
I love it.
Eleanor gives a smile and a nod. Quite. If only more individuals understood as such.
Perhaps. But if you'll excuse me, I would like to take in my free room. I would like to rest.
Of course. And he reaches under the counter, takes out a key and hands it to you. Yours will be the 5th house outside.
Thank you.
We should probably heal
Uh-huh.
spam you before you rest.
I see. That's how this works. The whole village is the Adventurers Guild.
It's a smart system.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Try to keep it clean and keep it neat. If you cause a mess, please clean it up. It's on you while you're staying there.
Aye.
We work on the honor system, make sure that if you leave it as nice or better than when you left it, when you came in, for the next person that comes in. Alright?
Sir Bartender, I live and breathe honor. You don't have to keep explaining it to me.
Excellent.
And he bows and continues walking.
Abov's gonna salute.
See you tomorrow.
Right. Let's heal spam DeLon before we rest.
The barkeep gives you all a salute, and polishes a wine glass, and he sets it on the counter and starts looking at the bottle as you leave. A bottle that you brought him. He strokes his mustache and kind of twists it between two fingers. Eventually uncorks it, takes a smell, and immediately begins coughing. And you hear coughing in the room as you leave.
Well, before we leave, I wanted to actually ask him something first. So, it's like as I get up, I take a look at my minion and say, "Hasn't given you trouble, has he?"
Okay, a little bit. Originally, he came over with a big old blanket and demanded to put it on my building. I told him to shrink the damn thing. It was rather an eyesore. No offense, by the way. None meant at all. Just, didn't work well with what we're doing here, you know? He, made another one, and it was still too big. So I bought him enough materials where he could try it as many times as he wanted until he got it right. Then, he mentioned he was supposed to be working here. News to me, but if he wanted to be a rookie adventurer, sure. I've taken tieflings before, I can take a goblin. However, he was very rude and did not understand how to talk to people. That's not gonna fly around here. If I have Templars coming in, he can't start pointing fingers at them and saying, I want a big helmet! So, now he has a piece of paper, and I've taught him to read a little better, and he is learning manners. Isn't that right? He looks through the paper, pulls one out, and then flips around, and then pulls out another one, and then nods and starts reading. That's right. I am learning. What the hell does that mean?
Don't curse.
Put your silver in the jar. And he boops his hand and puts the silver in a jar. And you can see that there's a big old jar that is just like mostly full with silver.
Uh-huh.
What does this mean? That word is etiquette. He turns to the paper and frowns. That's not what that says. Yes, it is. Look at it. We'll sound it out together. It says etiquette. Etiquette. He means well. It's the only reason he's still around.
Most of them do, honestly. We just have to give them a chance, essentially.
The goblin does come over to you, Gildos. He looks you up and down. Are you War Chief Gildos?
I nod.
Good.
Indeed.
Dagda said you would look like that. You really are ugly for an orc. In the silver jar. Oh, it's the truth. And he puts another silver in the jar.
I'll stop it and say, look at the barkeep and say, they'll say that. They'll sweat it.
Nope. I'm running a proper operation. He doesn't get special treatment even if he's used to it. In the jar. Yeah. He puts the silver in the jar and then comes back over to you. War Chief, he took my horn. You are not blowing a war horn when you see your War Chief. Not in King's Landing. See? He took my horn.
Well, just think you're blowing the horn when you see me. Just don't do it. I'll know.
So War Chief can hear the horn, even if I just think about it. I see.
That would be super cool if that were the case.
The goblin reaches into his pocket and pulls out what looks like a symbol of Bridget. Is it because of this lady?
I nod. Of course.
Maybe
Okay.
I can learn to do that too.
Uh-huh. But to do that, you have to learn how to read and to behave. And to listen to Mr. Barkeep over here.
Okay, I'll keep working.
Yeah. I'll look back to the barkeep and say, "Well, actually, how many of you are brothers? I mean,
There's a lot of us. There were more, but some of us passed in the war. They got me in King's Landing. Got my brother in Styrium. He dabbles in mead. And
Yeah.
pretends to make wine as he pours a bottle of wine down his sink, essentially. Pretends to make wine. And at least it's a good bottle. I'll keep that bottle. It's a nice bottle. Anyway, then we got one of our eldest brother in Nebulum. Then you got our baby brother in Gloucester. You got... see, he's the third born in Land of Monsters. You got the 8th son in the Savage Lands. And then you have the bastard half-brother in Renault.
uh-huh. Why would you bet you all of them have their own goblins by now?
Likely. I'm probably the only one managing to make them civil.
Well, you should see the Asterium Inn. That's a sight to behold, I say.
I bet it is.
Well, at least I know that if they are with your brothers, I know I can expect them to be in good care. Well,
Don't need to
I have
worry
a
about
special
that.
duty.
As long if all your little goblins are like this one and hardworking, then I'm sure they've taken him in.
Oh, they're all out working.
Good.
Just.
You don't need to worry about it. They just probably have gotten a few black eyes and a few hits on the head.
They're probably used to it anyway.
That's why we do it. It works.
Uh-huh. Yes. Thank you for the wine, Al. I'll take my leave now.
He nods, giving you another salute as you leave, and the party heads over to one of the farmhouses. You notice he gave a single key to Delon, but as you arrive at the farmhouse, you find that it is a similar house to the one that he was just in that could fit a small family of maybe a decent farming family, maybe 5 or 6 people. Same thing when you reach this house. As you unlock the door, you find that it's another farming house. Again, could house an entire farming family.
Mm-hmm.
And as you step in, it's very well stocked. You can find that the fireplace has some wood ready to be thrown in, an axe leaning near the fireplace with the wood. You can see that the pantry is actually filled with dried meat and some bottles of mead or ale. There's some grain in there, as well as some good old hearty tough like sourdough bread kind of stuff that'll keep a good bit.
Mm-hmm. Nice and cozy.
But alrighty, as you settle in to relax and recover from your trip, you will get a long rest from being in here, meaning
I
you'll
have a
get
strange question.
yes.
Can you upcast Goodberry?
Um
Because since I didn't cast any spells previously, I'm wondering if I could just like spam heal Delon.
I mean,
I mean, I know Remy, it would be more efficient to do it that way.
I mean,
but...
we're taking a long rest. You heal to full HP anyway.
Really?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what long rests do.
What?
A short rest you would need to spam good berries.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize long rest just healed the full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was been doing that.
Damn. Okay. They're more powerful in this edition. I
Are you
guess.
saying 3.5 / Pathfinder? You...
Exactly, it's 5e. Long rests are broken. It's like a
Alright,
full
fair
heal
enough.
and a full mana bar, essentially.
I was worried over nothing.
Yup.
Uh-huh.
Though the idea of upcasting Goodberry has me intrigued, and I
Yeah,
might do something. I might do something with that later.
I will get a pocket full of good berries for the next day in case we need it.
Sounds good. But alrighty, you all will rest and gain a long rest and gain another inspiration die. Heal to full, recharge your spells and all that. And with the travel through Nebulum finished and making your way into King's Landing and resting over here, checking the time at the moment, we've been going for about 2 hours or so, maybe 2.5. What does the party think? Should we wrap up here? I know that Bub has to probably leave in a few.
I don't.
And-
I don't today, actually.
Oh, you don't? Very nice.
No.
And I know that Gildos had to work this morning, so he might be a little tired. There's that too. But
Yeah,
overall,
I
what does the party want to do?
I could do another quest, honestly. If you guys want. Otherwise, I can just continue listening to my novels.
I could probably go for like a little bit more.
The
Alrighty.
question is, what are we doing next, though?
Yeah, essentially.
Let's at least
Like,
decide on that.
I'm fine if we leave it at that today, and then like next week we do the 2 quests we set aside. And then maybe.
Okay, and then I know Delon has a personal quest, so we can get started on that.
Because next week you could probably head into the city of King's Landing itself and approach the Dwarvish Bank for what Delon needs to do if you wanted to do that next week.
Yeah.
That
Or
would
we could take care of it, honestly, or whatever.
that one wouldn't take. It would take a certain amount of time, but it would be a good thing to get you into the city, and get you some resources as well.
I mean, yeah, really, it doesn't really matter.
So if that is the case, what does the party think? Because we probably have maybe another hour that we could do. However, I'm not sure if you could finish up a quest in an hour.
Yeah, we might as well just call it then at this.
Yeah. And then we can do everything next week.
Okay.
Alright, sounds good. So with that, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for tuning in to Kingless Chronicle, and we will see you next week.